What's up, everybody, and welcome to Neon Dream Games. It has been a year since I've started posting on this channel, and I thought, why not take a look at what I've posted, maybe see if I still think the same things about some of the things I posted, or maybe just talking about things that I've learned over the past year. So stick around, we're going to talk about that after the intro. All right, everybody. Like I said, we are going to be going over some of my past videos I've made or just game dev journey in general over the past year. I posted my first video on August 13th, 2024 on this channel. So we're a little bit past that now, and I thought, why not make a year assessment of what I've done? Do I still agree with the things that I've said? Have I learned things about game development that I could pass along to you? Well, I don't know. Let's take a look. And to begin with, I made my most viral video that I have done so far. If you don't count shorts, I've had a few shorts take off more than other things, but my fifth video that I made was all about game scope. It was called, let me look, Mastering Game Scope, How to Keep Your Indie Project Manageable. As of this recording, this video has 3,201 views, which for me, nothing has even come close to that. So I thought that was kind of crazy. That did help move my channel forward a little bit at the time. But game scope, I have actually talked about this here and there. I've made two actually dedicated videos to this. It wasn't too long after, let's see, later on I did another video called Dream Game Scope. That was titled From Big Ideas to Small Scope, How to Build Your Dream Game. I may have even done another video, but I want to specifically take a look at my original highest viewed video, What is Scope? Now, I'm not going to sit here and watch it with you guys. If you want to watch that video, you can go watch it. But I did use AI, Gemini, in this particular instance, to quickly give me a summary of what I said. And it looks like I gave a definition for game scope, referring to the size of your game and the time it will take to develop it. I did the goal of small games. Making smaller scope games is a good way for full-time indie developers to generate income in a difficult industry. Looks like I said my goal was to release 3 small games a year, completing each within a trimester. And honestly, that would still be my goal. I think that's actually a really good goal to try and aim for, making really small scoped games. I would maybe give myself a little bit more grace to say 2 games a year, every 6 months, releasing a game. That should have been where I'm at right now, but I'm not. There are so many other factors that come into making a game, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. Let's just quick see what else I said. Assessing your ability in time. When planning a game scope, you must first assess your own skills as a developer and how much time you can realistically dedicate to the project. This is especially important for those working other full-time jobs. So when I started this journey, I didn't quite start recording YouTube videos right when I started learning how to program and starting going on this journey. I was working a full-time job that at the time I hated. I just hated that job. I wanted to do anything to get a trajectory to get out of this job. So I started learning how to make video games. And eventually I moved on from that job, got a different job that I still am at today. And it's more part-time hours because I also run my own business, and I've talked about that before. But you have to assess your ability in time, and I still agree with that at this point 1 year later, because if you really know what you're doing, you can really manage the game scope well because you know what you're capable of and what you're capable of doing in X amount of time. I did not know that at the beginning. I was trying to make a reverse tower defense game to begin with, where your goal is to essentially get through and take over, sending waves of enemies and stuff. I love the idea of that game. I did not have the skill to make that game at the time. I was doing okay. I might even run some footage here of that game at the time, but I knew scope wise that was going to be just way too big, way too big of a game. So I scrapped that game and I went to what I thought was even a simpler game, Fruits versus Veggies. And that was supposed to be sort of a Plants versus Zombies style game, like a lane defense game, but I wanted to add my own twist where there's this sort of tug of war where mostly in Plants versus Zombies you're defending, and I wanted it to be both defense and offense. That game was starting to get out of control. I got a lot further in it and I just realized there's so much more to add to this. There's so much more to do. And everything just felt like it was very pieced together and barely holding on. So I scrapped that. And honestly, when I scrapped that, I paused. I paused for a while because I didn't have motivation anymore. I was like, I keep doing this if I don't understand scope. What can I actually accomplish? And then I stumbled on a video from Code Monkey where he talked about starting this 10 game challenge thing where you take old video games that did have kind of small scoped ideas, simple game mechanics, and recreate those games. So one of them is one of the first ones is Flappy Bird. It's very simple. You bounce this bird around and try to avoid the pipes. You've probably played Flappy Bird. Well, I wanted to make a couple of rules for myself to use my own original graphics, my own concept, so that I could release this game if I wanted to. And I was going to go through this 10 series of games. I thought they were going to be super simple. I was going to be able to make them in like really quickly, like a month or two, because they're almost like prototypes. Well, as I got into it, I realized my jobs, I have the part-time job, I have my own business. They were all getting in the way. I had to make money. Of course, I would love to make money being a full-time indie game developer, but that is difficult to do when you need income now. So back to assessing your time, your ability, I began to learn what I was capable of. And my game Flutter Plane, which is my Flappy Bird knockoff, is definitely small scoped, and it's small enough for me to manage. But I began to realize if I want to launch this as a full game, I started doing menus and things, and I was taking so much more time. The actual gameplay itself is done. Like it's a playable game. I just don't have all the menu systems and things to kind of put that together into a final package, which I really want to do because we have to do that as game developers. We don't just make prototypes all the time that are good enough. We need to complete games. So, what do I think of game scope in the end? Game scope, I think as a beginning game developer, you need to start extremely small. I love the idea of the 10 game challenge and just taking old video game concepts. So like Flappy Bird or maybe like Pong or Breakout or, there's a whole list of games. You can go look at my videos. You'll find the videos where I talked about the 10 game challenge. And I think you start really small, something like that. You find just a very easy game mechanic and you make an easy game. Too many game developers start with, I'm going to make my dream game right out the gate. I've just always wanted to make this dream game. It's good to have dreams. It's good to have those bigger goals. But usually it's going to be much better if you work your way up to those goals, making smaller goals that are achievable and help you grow and learn. Because if you just dive right in to your dream game right off the bat and you've never made a game before, you're going to hit all the problems. You're just going to make a sloppy game. I mean, maybe you'll pull it together in the end after years, which it's almost always years. But what if you started with smaller games, built mechanics with each game, and then those mechanics you could eventually form into one larger game, which can become your dream game? I think that's the best way to go with game scope as an indie game developer. That's kind of where I've talked about more in my videos. I would definitely try to tell myself that at the beginning of this whole journey. If I told myself that at the beginning, I think I would be in a much different place right now because I had at one point more time to make games early on in when I started this about a year ago. And I don't have as much time now, but if I could have done what I'm doing now back then, I think I would have built myself up in the right increments. So if I could give any advice to new indie game developers, forget about that dream game right now. Put that on the shelf. Take elements of that, make little games, little tiny games with some of the game mechanics. Maybe that might even be in your dream game, but just focus on one tiny game mechanic and build a little short game around it. And then when you do that, you do another game. You do a series of games, little short tiny games that each game you can challenge yourself a little bit more and grow a little bit more until eventually you're working your way to hitting the goal of that dream game someday. Oh, what else? Focus on game mechanics, not just story. In fact, you probably can't even do story in a small game. Very little story. Game mechanics is definitely what you focus on. You focus on one little game mechanic and build a game off that. Scalability. I said a good game mechanic should be scalable, allowing you to release a simple, complete game and then add more content later through updates, DLC, or a sequel. Yes, it should be scalable, but I would say make your code workable to use in the future. So that is how I would scale, in a sense, like creating another game using that same code so you can kind of reuse code to help you get a jump start on a future game and build off of that. Planning and prototyping. Plan your game with a game design document to help you set a realistic timeline. Prototyping is also a valuable way to quickly determine if a game idea is too big for your desired scope before investing significant time in it. That brings me to another one of my videos, game design document. I have quite changed my mind on those. So let's come back to that. I'm just going to finish the last thing, which says set achievable goals. The key is to create realistic, achievable goals. Failing to reach goals can be defeating, which I talked about. So it's good to plan a project you can actually finish. That's why I said start small. Just start very small, very achievable games. Like initially, like even just a really simple, like you can maybe finish this game in a month or two. So you can get that good feeling that I made a game. I did something. But back to planning and prototyping. Definitely prototyping is useful if you can really do that and do it quickly. Like really don't spend much time on prototyping because you don't want to like spend like a week trying to make some prototype to see if something's going to work. Your game should be simple enough that if you are going to make a prototype, you should kind of have a feeling that this is going in the right direction pretty quickly. But game design documents. Oy, I had a video that I released not too long after my game scope video, and that is, it was called Why Every Game Developer Needs a GDD, or a game design document. Here's how to make one fast. That video has 1,999 views as of this recording. I shouldn't even be telling you guys this stuff because I'm kind of discouraging you from maybe going to look at those videos, but go check it out. Go check out that video. Watch that video and tell me if you agree with what I said back then. Also, I decided to turn the lights on. I always do these dark videos. I still have my like green fill light over here. I don't know. Maybe I'll keep the lights on. Why do I got to be in the dark? Why I got to be like a dark cave dwelling, programmer, typical stereotypical programmer? This is how I would program normally in the light. Anyways, that's besides the point. I also did a quick summary here with Gemini, and I talked about, okay, let's start this off. Game design document. Many people have different opinions on this one. I had an opinion at one point in time that this needed to be done. Before I was starting anything, I was making a game design document. I was trying to figure out what the graphics were going to look like. I was trying to figure out what the gameplay was going to be. Now, these things aren't inherently bad. It is good to have a plan, but as I have found out, and I have listened to many other people talk about their game development journeys, I have found that making a plan, if you're going to do it, it needs to be flexible and needs to be able to be broken, changed, manipulated, rethought of. You have to stay loose with it. So doing all this huge pre-planning on a very simple game. Now, if you're going to make a huge game and whatever, there's certain circumstances in which a game design document would come in handy. If you're working with a team, that changes things because you want to make sure the team is on the same page as you with the direction of the game. I'm not saying game design documents are bad, but I think as an indie game developer, they aren't as necessary as you would think. So let's quick look at the bullet points of what I did say originally in this video. I said start with AI-powered brainstorming using a chat thing like ChatGPT I was using at the time to help generate an initial game design document. I won't go too deeply into that. I've said it on this channel many a time. I am massively pro AI. In fact, I'm getting even more pro AI as I go on. I love to now use AI to help program my games with me. I may talk about that later in this video, but at this point in time, this is where AI really works well, is brainstorming. If you're just by yourself as an indie game developer, as we typically are, it's good to have this like AI to bounce ideas off of. They can help you come up with ideas or expand upon your own ideas and give you more ideas. So I love that sort of brainstorming iteration time, and I think that's good. I do think that's good. Then I said refine the AI generated document. It's a starting point, but you need to review it, refine it, make it your own. And I still think that's relevant too. Anytime you work with AI is really great at starting things, like getting a base down for you. But then I believe as an artist, you need to refine it. Almost everything I do with AI gets refined slightly. I put my own little added twist to it, fix something, etc., etc. So in general, I agree with that stuff. I agree with it. Then I said use visual boards for assets. I was using a certain software at the time, which I'm not using anymore. I decided I decided I didn't really like game design documents. So I kind of just stopped doing that. And what I actually did though, I'm still not like, it's not terrible using visual boards for assets. So it was sort of like, dragging images onto this board to showcase maybe what the graphics are going to look like or something, like maybe finding a similar graphic style, putting it on there. Or if you actually have certain assets already, you can put those on there. Just keep it all in one place for a visual reference. Not bad. If you were going to make a game design document, I still think that's, probably a good idea to have some things like that. So then I just talked about developing, I might have been talking about my specific game. It says developing unit tiers and stats with AI, coming up with if you have characters, enemies, NPCs in the game, what stats do they have? Maybe you can use the AI to help you balance those stats out. All of this is still good. This is relevant, but you can use this information without actually having to make a GDD. Manage tasks, to-do lists, all those things you can figure out how to do that as well. I said prioritize planning over just jumping right in. And that might be where I disagree the most at this point. I think sometimes you do just need to jump right in. That's kind of like the prototyping thing. If you have an idea, just get in there, start it, test it out, see if it works, see if it grows into something. And if it does, keep going forward. Now, one thing I did with Flutter Plane is I did do like a mock-up sort of thing. I think I did a couple like really simple things on like in Photoshop, just real basic mock-ups of like maybe what the graphics are going to like, not even what the graphics are going to look like, but more like just the visual representation of the game that, okay, I want in that example, I have like a paper airplane that's trying to get through trees and clouds. So just a visual representation of what that might look like. And then later on, I refined that with actual pixel art as I started to create the pixel art for the game. And again, just had these things. They weren't game design documents, but they were documents that I had to track and basically use as a guide for my game. In fact, I'm probably going to do it again here with the menu system soon because it actually, I really liked that method of sort of like doing a mock-up of what I'm trying to do so that I can have this visual guide to look at, representation, and then use that to program with or program around or try to achieve that look through programming and game design. So again, I agree with a lot of these things separately, but as a whole, do you need a game design document? I don't think so. Not as an indie game developer. If that is what you enjoy and having a nice, concise document, great. If you need to work with a publisher or something, you probably have to possibly consider a game design document or something a little bit more professional. But if it's just you sitting in a room like this, typing away at your keyboard, I say, you don't need one. Keep a document somewhere. I mean, you could call it a game design document, I suppose, if you want to put goals and things. Like I just have a task list where I put tasks and things I want to accomplish throughout the game development cycle. And I just work towards that as time goes on. And I do little things, like I said, creating visual mock-ups and stuff along the way. That's been much better for me in both managing my game scope and pushing the motivation to work on your game which I don't always do, and I haven't been doing for the last couple of months. And that is for many reasons I've explained. Life is getting so busy and finances need to be taken care of. Game design has taken a back seat. But what else have I learned then in the past year? Program, design, do it. Try to do it as much as you can daily if you can, even just dedicate like 1 hour a day to it. I wish I could listen to my own advice on that, because it just becomes so difficult for me to get going again once I pull away and I step away from the project for a couple weeks. I opened it up the other day and it just all felt like gibberish to me, and I knew I didn't have the time I needed to just like reacquaint myself. But if you could just spend a little bit of time each day, that would probably be just great at just continuing that momentum. So, what is it? Listen to what I say, but not as I do, sort of thing. I need help. And I've appreciated all of your guys' comments that have been encouraging me to give myself that time. It's a little more complicated than just going right out and doing it for me. I'm not going to get into all my life things, but it's a perfect storm right now. Let's just put it that way. I'm trying to find the right time to jump back in, but I have to take care of a few other things first before I can do that. And that's all I'm going to say on that. So again, prioritize. Try to make time every day if possible to work on your game or something. Just have fun, program, do whatever, prototype, that sort of thing. So we've talked about a couple of my most popular videos. Like I said, game scope, game design documents. What else was popular that I have done? Some of the most talked about stuff. I had one of my first things I did at the beginning of this year was I talked about how AI tools helped and hurt my pixel art process in Sprite. That video actually has, I think, the second highest view count of any of my videos, and that one is at 2,170 views at this time. That had a lot of controversy. Initially, I think it's died down a little bit, but I was using a program, or it's more like a plugin called Pixel Lab in Sprite, and it does AI art for you. It helps you do animations and different things within Sprite. And I was testing it. I was testing it for a while. Nobody had really been dabbling too much in it. There weren't too many videos on it at the time. And at this point, I still love AI. I love that it can help you start, as I said, create a base. You're gonna have to tweak it. You're gonna have to tweak it. And every video that I've done, I've mostly tweaked everything, unless it's some real basic thing. Even then, I usually have to do some level of tweaking. So I don't think it's necessarily wrong to use AI to help you get started, or even using it for certain assets, especially in the art field. I am a totally competent artist myself. I've been doing art for the past 30, 35 years, all my life, drawing and that kind of thing. I am very good at Photoshop. It's been a part of me throughout my life. So it's not as if I am not confident in my artistic ability. It all comes back to that stuff about game scope and time. How much time do I want to invest in this? Should I use an already made asset, or do I create my own? Do I use AI to help jumpstart it? Overall, I haven't changed any real thoughts in the past year. I think AI tools can help considerably, and I think you should all actually be learning how to use them and implement them into your workflow, because I believe AI is the future, and you're either going to get on that bus or you're going to get left behind. That's kind of where I'm at with it. You need to learn how to use it as a tool, but not as like the person or whatever that does everything. You can't just say, make me a game, and then say it's your game and AI did the whole thing. But if it helps you, it's like an employee. It's a tool, it's an employee, it's a whatever you want to say. Yeah. So I still agree with that stuff. I still definitely use AI. One of my next largest viewed videos took a little time to get here, but I made a video called how to make a fancy texture progress bar in Godot 4.3. It's a tutorial. The first and only tutorial I made, because I could not find any information on this problem I had. So you can definitely go watch that video if you want to. I will try to make sure I have links in the description for these videos I'm talking about, just in case you guys want to check out those videos. Yeah, I saw a problem, gap in information, and I filled that gap with my findings. And I've had many people enjoy that video since then, and very happy that I made it and solved problems for them. So they didn't have to dig around for days at the time. I think it took me to figure out the answer to this stuff. Anyways, so tutorials. What do I think about tutorials? I like tutorials. I'm not so sure I'm great at it personally, but I would definitely consider making another tutorial if I felt like there was something, relevant for me to make a tutorial on. But yeah, besides that, those were the only videos that really broke like 1,000 views. I definitely have different videos with different ranges. One thing you guys did not like was when I did some Let's Play videos. You did not like those very much. I didn't get very many views on those. The thing is that kind of like started me on a path to playing games again, because I wasn't even playing video games. Like, I've been a gamer all my life, and guys, life is hard. You get into your mid 40s, and sometimes things get easier, sometimes they get harder. But that helped. That helped jumpstart me back into playing games again and enjoying playing games again. So I'm not, I don't know. I may do Let's Play videos every once in a while. We'll see. We'll see. Kind of had some fun with it. But then, I mean, my recent videos have been about making my Flutter playing game, a couple other random videos here or there, topical based videos. That is a year in review. So this is a bit longer of a video than I would normally do. I guess you could almost call this a podcast. I actually would like to do a podcast, but I don't know if I'd do it on this channel about game design, if I have enough things to talk about. I think in the end, what can I take away from all this? You've got to manage your time in life and figure out what the priorities are. Sometimes the priorities aren't going to be what you want to do, but you gotta do them anyways, because it's what needs to be done. But definitely I would try to put, a little bit of time every day, if possible, to game design, game development, and give yourself permission to take a break. I don't want to just abandon things, but if you need a break, take a break. Sometimes you need a break. Sometimes you need to reassess things and reprioritize. Sometimes you need to stop making a game. I've done that a couple of times. I'm not going to give up on Flutter playing. It's almost done. It's not even that big of a game. I will get that released at some point, but sadly, I don't know if it's going to be by the end of this year. We'll see. I mean, there's still time. There's not a lot left to do, but it's enough left to do. Yeah, just stick with it. If you want to be a game designer, if you want to be anything, you have to stick with it, especially if you're an entrepreneur. Sometimes you have to stick with things even when you want to quit. Like, I know I just said it's okay to quit sometimes. That's only like when you really assess things and realize this isn't going in the direction that I wanted it to go, and I don't see a path out of this. I don't see a way to fix it. Maybe it's best to abandon this and get on a better path. That's kind of when I say with quitting. But sometimes you just have to keep pushing, like this YouTube stuff. I was trying to post a video every single week, and I did it for almost an entire year. And then I hit kind of a crash, and I stopped posting every week. There were a couple week gaps in between video posts, including the ones right before this one. It's been a couple of weeks. I was beating myself up for that, like missing it. But you can't beat yourself up. Just keep going. You miss a week, fine, post another week. Just don't completely fall off the saddle. And that can be the same thing with game design and everything. Like I said, I have kind of fallen off the saddle with game design. I need to get back up. I need to just keep going. But even if you have long gaps in between, just keep going. Keep thinking about it. Keep it on your mind and keep pressing on. Because if you look at the stories of human accomplishment and what people achieve, the big success stories always come from people who just keep pursuing their passions, who keep striving forward, who put the groundwork in. And that's what we got to do. We got to keep going forward. That's my best advice. Keep pressing on. If you fall down, get back up. Just get back up and keep going. Don't ever just fully give up. So again, this is a long video. If you guys stuck around to the end, I greatly appreciate it. Thanks for listening to me talk, and I hope it had some meaning to you. I hope to get back into some more regular game dev content and things like that on this channel. Or you know what? I might even want to switch around what this channel does too. Who knows? It's a new year for me. Not a new year, but I'm moving into the second year of my game development and things. And I got to keep pressing on. Like I just said, sometimes that means adapting, changing things, whatever you got to do to keep pressing on. That's all I got for you now. Neon, my company mascot, you will tell you all the YouTube things at the end. But until next time, I thank you guys so much for watching my video and sticking with me throughout the past year. And as I always say, keep YouTubing it up.
Thanks for checking out Neon Dream Games channel. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell button so you can stay up to date on all the latest videos we have to offer. Don't forget to leave a comment to suggest what kind of videos you'd like to see more of in the future. See you in the next video.